She leaned close to him, her hand trembling, coffee dripping from the edge of the pot. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "Please, do not stand up. They will kill you." For a second, the entire diner stopped breathing. The hum of the fridge, the faint hiss from the fryer, even the flicker of the neon light outside, everything froze. The biker did not look at her. His eyes stayed locked on the three men sitting at the far table, laughing too loudly, talking too dirty, and staring at the waitress like she was prey. And that was the moment everyone inside that lonely roadside diner knew. Something was about to happen. Something no one would ever forget. It was one of those nights that crawled instead of passing. Heavy air, slow clock, empty road. The diner sat in the middle of nowhere, a single light on a stretch of black highway. Inside, the smell of coffee and grease mixed with the faint ache of country music humming from the radio. Maya had been working for 9 hours straight. She had not eaten since morning. But that did not matter. Rent was due, and her mother's hospital bills did not pay themselves. So she smiled. She smiled when she poured coffee, when people ignored her, when truckers threw greasy jokes her way. But under that smile lived exhaustion and fear. At 12:41 a.m., the sound of a motorcycle broke the stillness. A single headlight cut through the mist. Tires screeched softly as the rider parked outside. The door chimed open, and the cold air walked in first. He stepped inside, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black leather jacket that carried dust from too many roads. His boots left small puddles on the floor. He said nothing. His eyes scanned the room once, and in that single glance, everyone felt smaller. Maya felt it too, that strange gravity some people bring with them, the kind that pulls silence wherever they go. She tried to steady her hands and asked, "Coffee?" He nodded. That was all. No smile. No small talk. Just a nod. She poured him a cup, the steam rising between them like a curtain. For a while, it was just another night. Until the door opened again. Three men stumbled in, laughter spilling before them like broken glass. They were drunk, loud, and looking for something, or someone, to break. One wore a leather vest with patches from a local gang. Another carried a smirk that could start a fire. They spotted Maya. And that was when the tone of the diner changed. The smallest one whistled. The tallest slapped the counter. "Hey, sweetheart, coffee for us too, but make it with a smile." The laughter that followed was ugly. Maya's smile faltered, but she still nodded. Years in this job had taught her one rule: smile and survive. She walked to their table. Their eyes crawled over her like insects. One of them grabbed her wrist, pretending to be playful. "You spill this, darling. You are cleaning it off my jeans." The whole diner went quiet. Even the jukebox skipped. The biker did not move. Not yet. His eyes lifted slowly from his cup, following her like a shadow. Maya gently freed her hand, forced a laugh, and walked away. Her heart was pounding so loud she thought they could hear it. She passed by his booth again, whispering low, barely audible, "Please do not get involved." Her voice shook with something between warning and fear. He did not answer, but something in his posture changed, a stillness sharper than motion. Behind her, the men got louder. One of them threw a napkin at her. Another reached for the hem of her apron. She froze. And then, a crash, the sound of a cup shattering. The biker's hand had slipped from the table, or maybe it had not slipped at all. He stood up slowly. The room tilted. The three men turned toward him, sneering. "Got something to say, old man?" The biker's voice was low, quiet enough that everyone had to lean closer. "Yes. Leave." They laughed. But that laugh died fast. Because when he stepped forward, they saw his eyes. And in those eyes lived something no drunk man wanted to test. The tallest one swung first. The biker did not even flinch. His hand shot forward, grabbed the man's wrist midair, and twisted. A sickening crack echoed through the diner. Chairs scraped. Someone gasped. The second man lunged, but the biker's elbow caught his jaw before the punch even landed. The third froze. His courage evaporated faster than his whiskey breath. Maya stood frozen, one hand over her mouth, the other gripping the counter. She wanted to scream, to stop it, but something told her this was already beyond stopping. The biker did not hit again. He just stared at the last man and said one sentence that would haunt everyone there. Apologized to her. The man stammered, his lips trembling. I am sorry." The biker nodded once. Then, as if nothing had happened, he placed a few bills on the counter. "For the coffee," he said. He turned toward the door, picked up his helmet, and stepped into the night. But before leaving, he looked at Maya, not with anger, not with pity, but with something softer, something she had not seen in a long time. He said quietly, "Do not whisper next time. Scream." Then he was gone, leaving only the faint scent of gasoline and rain. Maya stood still for a long time, staring at the door as if he might come back. The broken glass glittered on the floor. The radio started playing again. Life resumed its rhythm, but nothing felt the same. Because sometimes, a stranger does not walk into your life to stay. Sometimes, he walks in to remind you that you still matter. Morning came like a slow confession. The diner smelled of bleach and regret. Sunlight crept across the counter where shards of glass had been swept into a neat pile. The night's chaos had vanished, but its echo lingered, faint, trembling, like the hum of a distant storm that never truly passed. Maya stood by the window, staring at the empty road. Her reflection looked unfamiliar. She had spent years trying to disappear behind smiles, but last night, something cracked open inside her. For the first time, someone had stood up, not for tips, not for glory, but for her. The three men never came back. Word spread through the small town faster than gossip. Everyone whispered about the biker who broke bones and vanished into the night. Some said he was an ex-soldier. Others swore he was an outlaw running from his past. But Maya knew better. He was neither savior nor sinner. He was something rarer, a man who did what was right and asked for nothing in return. She kept thinking about what he said before leaving. "Do not whisper next time. Scream." That line replayed in her mind as she served customers, as she mopped the floor, as she walked home under the same flickering streetlight every night. It was more than advice. It was a challenge, a test of courage. Weeks passed. The diner returned to normal, or at least, it pretended to. Truckers came and went. Couples argued over coffee. Life moved on. But Maya did not. Something inside her had shifted, quietly but permanently. She started speaking up more, when the manager tried to cut her hours, when a customer crossed a line, when the world tried to shrink her again. The timid waitress who once apologized for existing had begun to find her voice. But life, as always, has a way of testing those who dare to change. One evening, rain hammered the diner roof like 1,000 tiny fists. The highway outside glowed wet and dark. Maya was wiping down tables when the door creaked open. A man stepped in, drenched, silent, familiar. Her breath caught before she even looked up. The leather jacket, the steel gray eyes, the calm that seemed to quiet the whole room. It was him. The biker. He walked to the same booth, the one in the corner where everything had begun. He looked older, maybe more tired, but something about him was still unbreakable. Maya hurried over, unsure whether to smile or tremble. "Coffee?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Black, like before." As she poured, she noticed a bandage wrapped around his right hand. Torn knuckles. Fresh bruises. "You got into another fight?" she asked before she could stop herself. He gave a faint smile. "You could say that." She wanted to ask more, but his tone, and his eyes, told her it was better not to. Instead, she sat across from him for a moment, ignoring the clock, ignoring the stares from a few curious regulars. "People still talk about that night," she said. He took a sip, the steam curling around his face. "Do they?" "Yes," she whispered. "Some say you saved me." He shook his head. "I didn't save you. You were already stronger than you thought. I just reminded you." The words hit her deeper than she expected. She looked down at her hands. Steady now, no tremble, no fear. Maybe he was right. Maybe all she needed was that one night to remember she had power too. For a long moment, silence filled the space between them, a comfortable kind of silence that said more than words ever could. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it once, his expression darkening slightly. "I have to go," he said, setting down a few bills again. "Too many for just a cup of coffee." "Wait," Maya said before she could stop herself. "Will I see you again?" He paused at the door. "If the road brings me back." And then he was gone, just like before. But this time, Maya did not feel abandoned. She felt something else, gratitude, maybe, or peace. The kind of peace that comes when you realize you no longer need someone to save you. She finished her shift in silence, the rain easing to a drizzle outside. The neon sign flickered, painting the diner in pink and blue. The night was quiet again. Too quiet. Then she saw it. a small folded note beneath his empty cup. Her fingers hesitated before picking it up. Inside were just 6 words, written in rough, smudged ink. "You screamed for me this time." Her breath hitched. She looked outside instinctively. The road was empty, but far in the distance, she could hear the fading rumble of a motorcycle. For a moment, she stood there frozen. Then something caught her attention. 2 police cars raced past the diner, lights flashing, sirens slicing through the night. Maya's chest tightened. Her hands went cold. She looked back at the note again, at those 6 haunting words. Was he in trouble? Was he running from something worse than what she knew? Or was it a message, one final goodbye wrapped in mystery? She did not know. But one thing was clear, whatever had happened out there, he was not the kind of man who ran from consequences. He was the kind who faced them, quietly, like a storm that knew its purpose. The next morning, the local paper mentioned a bar fight outside town. 3 men hospitalized. No names. No witnesses. Just a black motorcycle scene leaving the scene. Maya folded the newspaper and slipped it under the counter, right next to his note. She did not need answers. Some stories were better unfinished. But she kept his words with her. "You screamed for me this time." Because deep down, she understood what he meant. He was not talking about that night. He was talking about her life. She had finally stopped whispering. And maybe, just maybe, that was the whole point. 2 months passed before Maya heard his name again. The seasons had shifted. The summer heat had melted into a soft, golden autumn. The diner's sign had been fixed, the floor tiles replaced, and the memory of that violent night had become nothing more than a quiet rumor whispered between tired waitresses. But not for Maya. For her, every sound of a motorcycle in the distance still made her heart skip a beat, somewhere between fear and longing. She had begun to live differently now. There was a spark in her eyes again, a sense of purpose in her steps. She had saved enough to enroll her mother in a better hospital, started saving for her own small bakery dream, and learned to speak her truth, even when her voice shook. But that peace was not meant to last. It was late evening when the sheriff's car pulled into the diner parking lot. The flashing lights reflected against the windows, and for a brief second, the whole room fell into silence. The door swung open, and Sheriff Carter stepped in, a tall man with eyes that carried the weight of too many years and too many lost cases. "Maya Collins?" he asked, looking around. She froze, a tray in her hands. "Yes." He walked closer, his boots echoing across the linoleum floor. "We found something at the old bridge near Route 19. Thought you should see it." Her pulse quickened. "What is it?" He reached into his coat and placed a small, weathered envelope on the counter. The paper was damp, its edges smudged with oil and ash. Her name was written across it, shaky but familiar. Maya's breath caught. She knew that handwriting. She opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a single piece of paper, folded twice. It smelled faintly of gasoline and rain. "If you are reading this, I did not make it back. But that is all right. Some roads are meant to end this way. I spent my life running. From people, from guilt, from myself. But that night, when you whispered to me, you reminded me that there is still something pure left in this world. You reminded me that strength is not in fists, but in standing up when no one else does. You made me remember who I was before I lost my way." Her hands trembled. A tear fell on the paper, smudging the next few words. She kept reading. "I was not a hero, Maya. I was just a man who once failed to protect someone he loved. When I saw those men hurt you, I saw my past all over again. I could not let it happen twice. That is why I stood up, not for you, but for the piece of myself I thought had died." The letter ended with a final line written in faint ink. "Keep screaming. The world listens to voices like yours." Maya pressed the letter to her chest. The diner blurred around her. Everything else vanished. For a long time, she did not move. She just stood there, feeling the ache of a goodbye that had never been spoken. Sheriff Carter sighed softly. "We found his bike near the riverbank. Crashed hard. No body yet, but it doesn't look good." Her voice cracked. He saved me twice." The sheriff nodded slowly. "Seems like he did that for more than one person." He tipped his hat and left, the bell above the door chiming softly behind him. That night, the diner stayed open late. Rain tapped against the windows like quiet fingers. Maya sat in his booth, the same booth, staring at the empty seat across from her. She placed the letter on the table beside his usual cup, now filled to the brim with untouched coffee. The jukebox played an old song about roads, distance, and the kind of love that never finds its way home. She whispered softly, "You found peace, didn't you?" A flash of lightning lit up the parking lot, and for a brief, impossible moment, she thought she saw him, standing outside in the rain, helmet in hand, smiling that faint, tired smile. But when she blinked, he was gone. The next morning, tragedy struck. The old diner caught fire. An electrical fault, they said. By the time help arrived, only the foundation and the charred remains of the neon sign were left. But somehow, through the smoke and destruction, one thing survived. A single corner booth untouched by the flames. The same booth where he had once sat. The same booth where his letter had been. When firefighters sifted through the ashes, they found the letter folded neatly on the table, dry and unburned. As if the fire itself had spared it. Maya visited the ruins that evening. She stood among the ashes and broken glass, clutching that letter to her heart. The sun was setting, painting the horizon in gold and crimson. For the first time in years, she smiled. Not the forced smile of a tired waitress, but a real one. Because she finally understood what his presence had meant. He was never meant to stay. He was a messenger, a mirror. The universe's way of reminding her, and perhaps the whole diner, that courage is contagious. That kindness is louder than cruelty. That a whisper can turn into a scream strong enough to change everything. She took one last look at the diner's ruins, then turned away and walked toward the road, the same endless stretch of highway where his journey had ended. Somewhere in the distance, a faint rumble of thunder echoed. It almost sounded like a motorcycle. Some people enter our lives like storms, loud, destructive, impossible to ignore. But the rare ones, they arrive like quiet rain, washing away the dust of who we used to be. Maya never learned his real name, but she never forgot his words. Keep screaming. The world listens to voices like yours. And every time she heard the sound of a motorcycle in the distance, she smiled, because she knew that some roads never really end.